Wow, this has been an amazing day. I was born in the 1950s. World War II was still a fresh memory for many people. Europe was still recovering. Displaced people and hunger, while diminishing, still existed. And although my family had gotten out before the war, we were well aware of what was going on in Europe. So when I was growing up, there we go. When I was growing up, yes, I still do this. When I was growing up, I often heard from my mother, "Finish what's on your plate. Kids are starving in Europe." You may have heard the same thing from your parents about India, China, or Africa. But for me, this early awareness of hunger stayed with me and has stayed with me. I want to take you on a brief journey that I took looking at hunger in America and a solution that I found in my backyard, a homegrown solution. This is the story of the AmpleHarvestorg campaign, which is an interesting look at an opportunity to meld together technology, to meld together people's goodwill, and to bring them together to solve a problem, in this case hunger, that some people thought, and malnutrition, that could never be solved, and to do it without spending a dime. So my mother would say, "Finish what's on your plate, kids are starving in Europe." And these were the images, the type of image that we would have. This is what it looks like today in America. I never thought we'd be discussing this about hunger in America, but this is where we're at today. Despite the way this looks, this is not an electoral map. Let me start with that. We have 50 million people in this country who are food insecure. That either means you're hungry or you're at real risk of being hungry. To put that in perspective for a moment, and by the way, the 50 million people, that's 23 of our 50 states, and that's what you're looking at. But to put it in perspective, in this room, if you represented America, 63 of you don't have enough food to feed your families. Somebody within arm's reach of you is hungry or at real risk of being hungry. Just keep that in your mind. 1 out of every 4 children under the age of 6 in America is living in a food insecure home. This is not a them issue, this is an us issue. This is affecting our communities and our country, and we're all suffering from the consequence. And it impacts our long-term health care costs. So how do we deal with hunger in America today? Well, we have food drives. And you've all heard these, had these at your house of worship, at your school, at your place of work. And what do they say? Bring some food to the food drive. So you reach into your kitchen cabinet, you take some cans or some boxes. The food gets collected, and in most cases it goes to a regional food bank. Now, America has 203 food banks spread across America. A food bank is a large industrial warehouse operation. Think of tractor-trailer loads of food coming in and skids being, we're talking something the size of a factory. From there, the food gets redistributed to 33,500 food pantries all across America. This is in a house of worship, it's in a civic building, maybe it's a YMCA, and this is where people will go to help feed their family. What's the one thing they always say at food drives? No fresh food. There are 3 reasons for that, actually. One is the delivery cycle between the food bank and the food pantry can take days or weeks, and it obviously doesn't work for fresh food. But the other 2 reasons lie with the pantries themselves. They think they need refrigeration, and they think they need storage. So while tens of millions of people across America don't have enough food to feed their families, 40+ million Americans, 34% of all households, grow food in home gardens. I'm one of them. These are some of my harvests, and these are just one-day harvests. And you're looking at tomatoes and corn and peppers and cucumbers. And gardeners tend to grow a lot. They'll plant in the spring, and they're eager, and they're waiting for the food to grow, and they wait, and they wait, and they wait. Then it comes, and you're getting hit with the tomatoes. You're getting hit with the cucumbers. You use what you can, you preserve some, and then you give the rest away to your friends and family. I've discovered there's only so many cucumbers you can give to friends and still have them call you a friend. And actually, in the southern part of the United States, I've been told that people lock their cars when they go to work. Yeah, they're not afraid the car's going to get stolen. They don't want to come back to a car full of zucchini. So this is the reality of what we have in this country. So what ends up happening is that people either let it rot in the garden or compost it, which is a waste because there are people in the community who could need it, or worse, they throw it away. Now, this may come as a surprise to you, but the Environmental Protection Agency actually says that wasted food is an environmental hazard. It increases the waste stream, which, by the way, means your taxes go up. It increases methane emissions from trash dumps, and a pound of produce becomes a pound of methane, which is the equivalent of 20 pounds of CO2. So you add to global warming, and you increase the carbon footprint in your community. So no matter how you look at it, wasted food is a waste. So there was food drives. People reach into their kitchen cabinets. I wanted to donate from my garden. So I went looking for a food pantry. And you never see a sign like this because they don't exist. You can actually drive right up to a food pantry and not know you're there. You've got to get real close, and I mean real close, to realize that you're standing in front of a food pantry. The challenge is that America's neighborhood food pantries are not connected to the neighborhood. It's a really unfortunate situation that they're in. It's like somebody forgot to turn on the porch light and say, hey, folks, we're here, we could use your help. So this is one of my harvests, and I wanted to bring it to a food drive. And as you now know, you can't. So I know I had this food in my garden. Millions of gardeners do. I knew people were hungry. We all know that. And I knew I couldn't take it to the food drive. So I decided to connect the dots. I figured, why not get the food directly to the pantry in the community? I created the AmpleHarvestorg campaign. This was a resource that was available so that any gardener in America could find a pantry in their own community and donate the excess garden produce that they had to the people in the community who most needed it. And for the first time, pantries could now get the fresh produce they weren't able to get in the past. The really important thing to understand here is that the opposite of hunger isn't full, it's healthy. And we could now get healthy food into the system where before it basically wasn't there. So I created the AmpleHarvestorg campaign, and there were 3 ideas behind it. Number 1 was to educate people that they should donate. Number 2 was to encourage people to donate. And then number 3 was to enable them to donate. So in March of '09, I had this idea. I launched it nationally in 7 weeks. And for any of you ever wanting to launch a program, you can do it that fast if there are no lawyers involved. And right now, we have, well, a lot of pantries. Actually, this is what we have. Now, the only problem with this map is it's wrong, because I had to hand this presentation in a week ago, and it says 4,690 pantries. A real-time number is 4,718, and while I've been here, pantries in New Orleans, St. Louis, Wichita, and the Bronx have registered on AmpleHarvest.org. This is enabling people to take ownership of hunger and malnutrition in their own community. So this is what it looks like, but here's where the magic starts. There's a field there, donation days and times. The pantry gets the opportunity to tell the gardener when to come. Number 1, the pantry knows when the clients are going to be there, so they can tell the gardeners to come just before that. The gardener knows when he or she's expected. They can harvest just before that. So here's what ends up happening. Number 1 is that the food that is getting into the pantry system is fresher than you and I can buy in a supermarket. Number 2, the food is coming in and going out on a same-day, next-day basis, which means we've eliminated the refrigeration and storage problem. And an ethical issue a problem is solved. In our economy today, it's entirely possible that your next-door neighbor is using a food pantry. And it would be really a shame for you to show up with your donation of food and your next door neighbor is there to receive their allocation. They don't need the humiliation. You don't need the embarrassment. So by separating you by a little bit of time, you know your food's going to somebody in the community, and the recipient knows it came from somebody in the community, but you both remain anonymous. That's, I think, a really, really important thing. A gardener says, to use it, says, this is where I live, give me a list of pantries. And then the pantry information actually comes up. And at that point, they then make the donation. And here's the really special part. We don't touch the food. The gardener donates to the pantry themselves directly. And once they have done that, they will presumably do so for the rest of their gardening life. We're connecting the dots, but we're enabling the community to take care of itself going forward. 40 million people in America, actually now it's more than 40 million plus, we'll say, people in America are growing food in home gardens. They, on the average, harvest 300 pounds per growing season. Imagine what would happen if only 1 out of every 10 gardeners actually donated 2 shopping bags, about 50 pounds of food, to a pantry. We'd be looking at 200 million pounds of freshly harvested produce coming into a system that has been devoid of it, getting into food deserts in particular. This is, to me, just an amazing thing. We're not alone. We've had partners working with us all towards the same goal of trying to solve the problem of getting fresh food to the people who most need it and have least access to it. This has been something that's been just something, it has worked really, really well. The important thing is these government, corporate, and nonprofit organizations have seen AmpleHarvestorg as being the missing link in what had been a broken chain. Jamie Oliver, who spoke so brilliantly before on the video, First Lady Michelle Obama, whose Let's Move initiative tries to get people to eat better and to exercise. Michael Pollan, who is a TED speaker and basically says, eat, not too much, mostly plants. They're all saying the same thing. Eat healthier food. But for the millions of Americans who don't have the money to buy healthy food, this is enabling people to get what they're advocating. This is food that would have been thrown away and instead ended up in a food pantry in Bridgeport, Connecticut. This idea is working, and it's working across all 50 states in America. For kids, this is particularly important. Kids need to grow up knowing that apples don't come pre-sliced in cellophane and peas come in pods and not cans. We're moving information instead of moving food to diminish hunger and malnutrition in America. This is a sustainable solution that costs the community nothing to implement, and it costs the community absolutely nothing to operate. I encourage all of you to urge the food pantries in your community to start accepting fresh produce, and certainly talk to the gardeners and growers in your community to start donating the food. We have this opportunity to allow gardeners across America to reach into their backyards instead of their back pockets to help their neighbors in need. This is an amazing thing that we can use the internet, we can use our gardeners, and we can use our just goodwill to improve the environment, to reduce hunger, and to reduce malnutrition. We're connecting the dots between local growers and the people in the community who most need it, and we're not spending a dime doing it. Now, some people may say that solving hunger in America is impossible. I believe that to do the impossible, you must first believe it isn't. Envision in America where millions of gardeners can reduce or eliminate malnutrition and hunger in their own community. Billions of pounds of food are left to rot in gardens across the country. We can eliminate hunger and malnutrition in America using the food we already have, but only if we actually use it. Thank you.